I'm a little bit concerned. I'm going to go on record, a tad concerned, because the Steelers now have like the fourth best quarterback in the division at best. But I think the big thing looming over this trade with Watson is does he face a suspension? And if he does, how long will that suspension be? The Browns give up a haul to get the Texans quarterback. But what was your reaction to the trade, Watson to the Cleveland Browns?
Contender. When I saw Deshaun Watson go to the Cleveland Browns, I was thinking contender. And the reason why I was thinking contender, I was thinking, well, since Baker Mayfield hasn't got picked up yet, that says a lot how the other NFL teams feel about Baker Mayfield. One, we saw what Deshaun Watson did when he went to Kansas City. If they would have held the ball a little bit longer instead of trying to outdo Patrick Mahomes, they probably would have had the opportunity to make the Super Bowl. And they had less talent at that. So now you send them over there to the Cleveland Browns. Their defense is okay. They're real good when they want to be because they got a lot of first-round draft picks. We already know about the offensive line. The offensive line, man, is probably top 5 in the NFL. Then we get down to their tight ends. They re-signed Njoku. They put a tag on him. So there was always loaded at a tight end position. Now they're talking about bringing. Not only did they get Amari Cooper, they got Johns People-Jones as a wide receiver from Michigan. He's been the dog quietly. Now they're talking about bringing Jarvis Landry back for a lower pay. So we shall see. And we ain't talking about Nick Chubb and company and when they got and Kareem Hunt sitting back in that backfield. And you got a guy who can also run and he can make plays. And he never had this kind of talent surrounding him, total on offense or defense. And Deshaun Watson, that's what I'm telling them boys, man, they're contenders right now because I see what they can do. They definitely got a talent. That's the one piece that was missing, Mark. And that was that quarterback position. And they got a quarterback who can change their organization and Deshaun Watson.
All right, Ike, I got a counter here. 22 pending civil lawsuits against Watson. So we'll see how long he's going to be out because, listen, the NFL conduct policy, we don't know the answer to that question. So that's out there, number one. Number two, who's Watson going to throw to, Ike? Because you mentioned all these great receivers. Cooper's a nice route runner, but Austin Hooper is gone, a tight end that the Browns didn't properly utilize the last 2 seasons. Jarvis Landry ain't coming back wanting to take a pay cut. I always make the analogy of sizzle and steak, Ike, and the marriage with OBJ in Cleveland didn't work out, but OBJ was always the steak. Jarvis Landry was the one who was the steak. OBJ was the sizzle. You want both ideally, but if I have to choose one, I'm taking Landry every single time. For the reason being, he plays 16, 17 games damn near every year. He's healthy. He's reliable. He's dependable. And now the Browns don't want to pay him. He ain't coming back to Cleveland. So who's Watson going to throw to? Himself? And that's even if he gets on the field, Ike. So I got to counter. Let's go back and forth a little bit here because I don't see this the same way as you do.
Mark, you saw what Deshaun Watson did when they had little to nothing.
DeAndre Hopkins is little to nothing in Houston?
So we just said one. So you put DeAndre Hopkins, and then I say Amari Cooper. Name Deshaun Watson 2 running backs sitting in the backfield. Can you name a better offense Watson had in Houston? Can you even name a tight end that Deshaun Watson had? Deshaun Watson had in Houston. You can't. Hang on.
You're also not accounting for the fact that the Browns will not have J.C. Tretter as well, a very well-respected veteran in that locker room. I know you still have got Wyatt Teller and Jack Conklin on that offensive line, but it's not going to be that same dominant Cleveland Browns offensive line we've seen through the last few seasons, Ike, because they don't have Tretter at this point moving forward.
I got a question for you, Mark. What team would you quarterback on? If you was an NFL quarterback, the Cleveland Browns or the Houston Texans?
Well, I mean, come on. I mean, everyone knows the answer to that.
No.
I would choose right now going into the 2022 season. I would choose the Browns over the Texans. Well, okay.
Why?
You always mentioned coaching. I would much rather have Kevin Stefanski as a head coach than I love Lovie Smith, but Lovie Smith is a defensive coach. If I'm a young quarterback in this league and I want to develop, I have a head coach who I believe in more in Kevin Stefanski right now. And yeah, you've got 2 dogs in the backfield, but this is not my point is this is not the same Browns roster as we saw the past 2 seasons where They should have made the playoffs this last season, given the talent. And they did the year before. They made the playoffs for the first time in like 2 decades.
Mark. And it's probably not the best roster the Cleveland Browns had in the past couple of years. It's the best roster that Deshaun Watson has ever been on. Totally, is what I'm trying to say. That's what makes – so Deshaun Watson now has a better roster than he ever had since he was in the Texans. So that's all I'm saying. And we saw what he did with an okay roster. Now you give him a better roster, a healthier Deshaun Watson, they're going to be cooking with gas all week for 17 weeks. And, yes, he will have to appeal. So I'm thinking 8 games, he's going to appeal for 4. He'll be back in 4 games. I'm calling it.
You heard it here first on the Bleav in Steelers show. Everyone knows that Ike Taylor is a well-known psychic at this point, Ike. I will say this. Initially, I looked at this trade and I said, wow, well, the Texans got a haul, a 2022 first-round pick, a 2023 first-round pick, a 2023 third-round pick, first-round pick in 24, and a fourth-round pick in 2024. But the Browns only gave up 1 pick this year and 2 next year. The Browns still have 5 picks in the first 118 picks in this year's draft. Only 2 teams have more. That is the Jets and the Giants. So the Browns can still reload through the draft because while they gave up many picks to be able to trade for Watson, they still have a ton of draft capital.
Man, it's crazy when people be talking about first-round picks and second-round and third-round picks. If you don't have a good-ass GM, what the hell do them picks matter? If you have a GM who been busting on all the picks, that don't matter at all. And obviously the Cleveland Browns of late, they haven't been busting on none of the picks. The Houston Texans, they've been busting on all their picks. So it really don't matter. We can say first round until we die. If you don't have that GM who knows talent, if you don't have good scouts who knows how to evaluate talent, it doesn't matter how many picks. You can have 7 first-round picks. If them picks ain't up to the subpar talent that you predicted to be, because your GM don't know what he's talking about and he's not scouting and he's not putting his homework in, it really doesn't matter. So that's what I'm rocking all the way around for this total package. The Cleveland Browns is winning. When it comes down to the picks, they still got 5, like you said. And when it comes down to a franchise quarterback, they got Deshaun Watson, who is a better upgrade than Baker Mayfield. And I love Baker Mayfield to death. He's just not that Super Bowl contending quarterback in my mind.
Okay, so let's go there in just a second, Ike. The Browns also signed Jacoby Brissett as well to back up, and Brissett might be the starter if Watson does face a suspension. Where does Baker Mayfield wind up after all of this, Ike? Because the 3 teams that I had, the Colts, the Seahawks, and the Saints, Colts traded today for Matt Ryan, and the Saints are going to re-sign Jameis Winston as well. The Falcons. So where does Baker wind up, Ike?
He might wind up in Seattle, and that's going to be the death to his career. Because we didn't see what the great Russell Wilson had to struggle with to get to where he got. He couldn't wait to get out of there and go to Denver. So you're going to put Baker Mayfield with some okay talent, and that's the reason why the Cleveland Browns got rid of Baker Mayfield. They say, Baker, you got a lot of talent on this roster, man. We got to do better than the first round of the playoffs. You see what we're doing. We see what we're trying to make. And now they let him go. But for me, man, I just thought Baker Mayfield, it was an immaturity part off the field. That's what I thought Cleveland Browns got discouraged about. That's what I thought the Cleveland Browns kind of made up their mind. Like, we can deal with you being okay. But when you're immature and you so worried about what people are saying and you always want to counter back to them, it's an issue because you're our franchise quarterback. You're supposed to be our $230 million 5-year quarterback. But we can't pay you because you're not buttoned up, because your immaturity, not only since college, but even your years in the NFL that we had to deal with. And that's something we just can't do.
Yeah, Ike, I'm totally with you. If I could advise him, it would be like, just stay off social media. And one of the rules I have for my own page, Ike, is if someone has substantially less followers than I do, I don't really care what they think. I mean, like, easier said than done, but it's just like, why are you putting out all of these statements thanking the city of Cleveland when you're still employed by the Cleveland Browns? Like, that to me doesn't make any sense. There was a Discord there in the middle of last season. I remember Mayfield, I think it was an NFL Network interview he did with Kurt Warner, where he was saying there's people within the Browns organization that, and I'm paraphrasing here, that didn't want to see him succeed. And it's just like, I think there's bad blood in the water there, in the sense that it's like, why someone in that organization, whether it was the GM, the owner, the head coach, that didn't say, hey, your left shoulder's goofed up, you're not playing. And he tried to fight through. But if he would have just tried to do his job to the best of his ability and not just always talk, and responded to media members, like, that's all mental. I think most people would have been understanding, like, hey, we understand that your shoulder injury is impacting your ability to play. Just try to do the job the best that you can at that point. And like, you can't have a quarterback do what he did this last season and be the CEO of your franchise. So it's just like, and I thought we were beyond this with Mayfield, because he did guide the Browns to the playoffs. He did knock off our beloved Steelers in the playoffs. And I thought he was trending in the right direction in his career. But when he decides to respond to any media pundit or any kind of report or Colin Cowherd, it's like, dude, like, I kind of use like the old school model. Like, Peyton Manning isn't even on social media, Ike, yet he's known all throughout NFL circles because he was one of the best quarterbacks in the league when he played. So it's like, that's what Mayfield needs to focus on. And instead, he just wants to, respond to everyone on social media and get his message out there that way. And it's like, I get that it's a different era, but an athlete's brand is his athletic excellence. And that's why Mayfield is being judged the way that he is, because the Browns didn't win at the same level as they had the season before when they made the playoffs and won a playoff game.
So like Coach T said, people don't care about your problems. They're glad you got them. So the fact that Tom Brady won a Super Bowl, the fact that Tom Brady won a Super Bowl over torn meniscus, and you didn't find out till after he won it in the offseason, that's why they're looking at Baker Mayfield like, they all of a sudden, when you're not playing good, you just going to throw out your shoulder to the media. People don't care about that. And that's what Baker should understand, and he should already know. If people would love to see Baker go out and you shut your critics up by balling, and you having good games consistently every week, all day, 17 weeks out the year when it comes to this football. Now, we understand you're going to have a week or two, maybe 3 weeks out the year where you're just not being Baker Mayfield. But the fact you're not being Baker Mayfield, the fact that you're talking, the fact that you're going out and telling the public that you're hurt, don't nobody care. Because once you step on the field, they feel like you can find a way to win. And that's what people look at with Baker Mayfield. Once you go to training camp, Mark, you will never be 100%. You're only 100% the day you walk into training camp. After you get through banging for that first practice, you're never 100%. So the fact they're looking at a lot of these other quarterbacks who would never say they injury during the season, regardless of whether they're playing good or bad, they'll wait till the offseason. That's the same way they're looking at Bake. Like, Bake, all you got to do is keep your mouth closed, and how you shut up your critics. You shut up your critics by balling every week. Baker got to understand that part when it comes down to the quarterback position.
With you there, Ike. I think another possibility for him would be the Panthers. Now, Carolina does have the 6th overall pick in the 2022 draft, and I know Carolina had a huge contingency today at the University of Pittsburgh Pro Day for Kenny Pickett as well. So that's a possibility there for Carolina. I think Carolina would also be a possibility for Mayfield, but there aren't that many options left. There are only so many starting quarterback positions that you could have. And so, Ike, we'll see what happens there, but Mayfield looks to be the odd man out, and he's not going to be back in Cleveland. And if somehow he is still on the Browns roster, I would not expect him to suit up and hold a clipboard in year 5 of his rookie deal. I'd imagine he'll be in another uniform in the 2022 season. So we'll see how all that shakes out. One other signing I thought that was worth mentioning before we get to Juju to the Chiefs, Ike. Cowboys offensive tackle La'el Collins to the Bengals, helping upgrade the protection for Joe Burrow up front. Burrow sacked the league high 51 times this last season, sacked 9 times in the road playoff win against the number 1 seed Tennessee Titans. I think this is going to be one of those signings for the Bengals where we're not talking about it right now, but when Joe Burrow has another Pro Bowl season and leads the Bengals back to the playoffs, we'll be looking back on it and saying, wow, that was a pretty good signing for Cincinnati.
So the Bengals, they addressed all their needs, and their needs was the offensive line. So you get the center from the Patriots, you wind up signing the center. Then you get La'el Collins, and La'el Collins, I don't think people remember, he did play at LSU. So he basically just going back home. So now he's with another Cincinnati Bengals offensive lineman who went to LSU. Now he went Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase came from LSU. Now he with the head honcho with Joe Burrow. He from LSU. So you got 4 LSU guys sitting on the offense, and now they just feel like they back in college again. So, yes, if you did listen to his interviews, he said, yes, Joe Burrow has a new security guard in town. And that's exactly how Lionel's calling the field. Maybe you need to change your scenery. And maybe he understands Joe Burrow. Because Lionel Collins, when you listen to his interviews, he was talking about the locker room. He was talking about the swag. He was talking about the LSU alumni. He was talking about how he felt, how the Cincinnati Bengals went from okay to getting into the Super Bowl. He was talking about how overrated, in so many words, the Dallas Cowboys is. Like, they always have high expectations, but they never really get it done. So if you just pay attention to the words he was saying, in so many words, Lionel Collins was like, man, I'm just glad to be back home. And for him now is a new home with the Cincinnati Bengals, and he's back with his brothers that he played with at LSU. So, yes, there's needs and wants. But what the Cincinnati Bengals did, what we talked about, having 71 sacks throughout the course of the season, Joe Burrow still making it to the playoffs. But now you address their offensive line, they did exactly what they needed to do. They addressed their needs and not their wants.
I like how you slip in the Dallas Cowboys slander, Ike. Because it's Bleav in Steelers, I'll allow it.